Well, it wouldn't be a political event without a technical issue, right? Let's be honest. Good evening, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here and see so many friendly faces. I'd like to start by thanking Rob Elliott for that very, very kind introduction. For those who don't know Rob is one of the most decent and moral people that you will ever have the chance to meet. He has been involved in building our PC party since he was old enough to first sign up for a membership. And I look forward to working with him for many years to come to continue to build and strengthen our party. So thank you, Rob. A year and a half ago, I set out in a small Kia Rio with two individuals that I barely knew. One was Reese Sandner, and one was John McDougall. I had met Reese Sandner at the CHEO Telethon, an event that I've been volunteering at for years. We bonded over a shared passion for politics, and we got together for coffee several times to discuss current affairs. I could tell that he was a bright guy. I met John McDougall at a conservative networking event just up the road from here at Dunn's Deli, just off of Merivale. I could tell that John was passionate about community service and growing our conservative movement. John has the type of personality that makes you think that anything is possible, even if you've just met him. These two individuals agreed to come with me on my first door-knocking expedition into the riding. It was a sunny day in late summer when we pulled up on our first street. As I stepped out of the car, I felt butterflies fill my stomach. As I walked up the laneway, I glanced nervously at my two companions, and then, heart pounding, I reached out and rung the doorbell. I don't know if she's here tonight, but an absolutely lovely lady named Mrs. Chattergoon came to the door. I told her about how I got involved in politics because of my younger brother Dylan, who has autism, and about my desire to fight for individuals with autism and their families. I shared my experience working for the late Jim Flaherty and studying at the University of Oxford. And I made my pitch for an Ontario government that is more fiscally conservative and socially compassionate. To my great surprise, Mrs. Chattergoon agreed to support me right there and then. As I left her house and walked down the laneway, my first PC membership in hand, I felt butterflies still in my stomach. But it was no longer a feeling of nervousness. It was a feeling of excitement. I could tell that we were starting something special. We were starting something that countless generations have done before, going door to door, house to house, coffee shop to build support for a movement of change. And I could tell that a change was going to come. As our team continued to door knock and gain momentum, we had more volunteers who stepped forward to help. By the end, I found myself surrounded by a motley crew of young men that I came to call my knights. And I wouldn't be here today were it not for these fine young gentlemen. So I'd like to ask each of them to stand up. Reese Sandner, John McDougall, Brett Byers-Lane, Derek Harrop, James O'Connell, and Tyler Evely and Brendan Purcell, who couldn't be here with us today. Thank you so much to all of you. A famous anthropologist once said that you should never doubt the ability of a small group of thoughtful and engaged citizens to change the world. It's the only thing that ever has. These young men are part of the future of our party and of our province, and I'm blessed to be able to count them as friends. It hasn't been an easy path to today, as many of you know. We have faced many hurdles along the way and many roadblocks. And I wouldn't have made it here were it not for the support of a number of other individuals. And if you'll indulge me for a moment, I'd like to take a moment and highlight some of them. Firstly, I need to thank Senator Marjorie Le Breton. Senator Le Breton has been steadfast in her support of my candidacy. When we first met for lunch, at Moxie's on Hunt Club, she said to me, Jeremy, I'm going to stand with you until the end of this, and I'm with you. And she really was. She's been with me every step of the way, and it has meant so much to me personally to have her support. Along with Marjorie, I also have to thank her sister, Kay Stanley, who's been a longtime stalwart of the Conservative movement. And Kay is responsible for something quite special. Some of you may have heard that about a week and a half ago, I got a very exciting endorsement. We received the endorsement of John Baird, our former Member of Parliament. John would have liked to have been here with us tonight, but unfortunately he's in Hong Kong, so it was a little hard for him to commute. But a lot of people don't know that Kay was John's elementary school teacher. And so, I think we all know that John still remembers to listen to his teachers. I also, of course, have to thank MPP Lisa MacLeod, who also has stepped forward to lead the charge for justice in this area, and she has provided me with an example of what it means to be a community leader in Ottawa. And I think we should all give Lisa a huge round of applause on a huge achievement that she has had this week, and that is the passage of Rowan's Law, which she has been working on for a very long time. That is a great achievement, Lisa, for sure. I also have to thank MP Pierre Poilievre, who has also supported me throughout this and helped in some of the challenging moments. And Pierre has provided a good roadmap for me. His defeat of David Pratt in 2004 has given me a roadmap on how we can slay a Liberal giant in Ottawa. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Another group of people I have to thank include Tom Bennett, Georgianne Burke, Emma McLennan, Liz McKinnon, Alan Cutler, David Gibbons, Eleanor Brody, Marlene LaBelle, and Heather Tessier. I think I got all of them right there. All of these individuals have been people who have picked up the phone at 2 a.m. when I've called them with a campaign problem that I needed advice on. And all of them have just provided me so much fantastic wisdom. I can't thank them enough. The next individual I have to thank drove all the way down here today from Toronto, and that is our past party president, Ken Zeiss, who's sitting right here. Ken has been steadfast in trying to pursue justice and making sure that we in Ottawa West Nepean got a fair process that we deserved, and we cannot thank him enough for making that happen. We're also joined here today by the Chief of Staff to Vic Fideli, Ali Khan Velshi. Ali Khan has also equally been working very hard to ensure that we get the fair process that we deserve. And Ali Khan has just announced that after the leadership, he's going to be returning to the private sector. That's a big loss for all of us, but I know that he will stay involved in the party and that we'll be able to continue to rely on his wise counsel going forward. The final three people that I need to thank have been individuals who I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the work that they did over the past number of months. And those three individuals are John Castleman, Jim Carey-Hallows, and Kara Johnson, all of whom fought very hard to make sure that we could get to this point where we could have a new nomination meeting, a fair process. So thank you to the three of them. And last but not least, I swear I'm almost done. This is worse than an Oscar speech, eh? Last but not least, I have to thank my parents, Al and Janine, because I could not possibly be where I am today were it not for the two of them and their support in every single day. When I'd come home after a tough day of campaigning, they were there. If I needed their help, they were there. So thank you so much to both of you. It means the world to me. Tonight is a new dawn in Ottawa West Nepean. Tonight, we turn our focus to June 7th, an election that represents a monumental choice for all Ontarians. Either we choose a new path and move forward together towards a more affordable future, or we continue down the same ruinous path of Liberal debt, waste, and mismanagement. The stakes could not be higher. As I've traveled around the riding, I've had the opportunity to speak with countless families and business owners about the challenges that they're facing dealing with the weight of high taxes and poor services. I met a family on Seymour Avenue who told me that hydro rates at their small business have tripled over the past 10 years from $3,200 per month to over $9,000. At that rate, they told me they could have hired another employee at their business. I met an elderly couple over on Stillwater Drive in Crystal Beach who shared with me the challenges they faced in finding good long-term care options for seniors in Ottawa. This is a challenge that far too many people in Ottawa West Nepean know all too well. Did you know that the average wait time for good long-term care for seniors in Ottawa is over 2 years? That is disgraceful and needs to change. Many of you are by now familiar with my own family's story of struggling to get more support for individuals with autism and their families. Currently in Ottawa alone, there are hundreds of individuals with autism and developmental disabilities who are in desperate need of housing support. These families and individuals are in crisis, and the government is doing nothing to help fix this problem. That is absolutely a shame. In fact, if we as a society cannot help the most vulnerable in our communities while spending over $130 billion of taxpayer money on government services every year, there is something profoundly, profoundly wrong, and we need to do better. I'm incredibly proud that my brother Dylan is here with us tonight. Dylan doesn't speak, he struggles with some behavioral issues, and he's been known occasionally to take a bite out of a cookie and then put it back on the serving plate. So watch out when you're grabbing some snacks. Despite this, I feel as though Dylan is as much your candidate as I am. When I set out on this journey, I wanted to be Dylan's voice in Toronto. But as I've traveled around the riding and heard all of your stories, they have had a profound impact on me. I know that Dylan expects me to fight for each and every one of you with the same passion and dedication with which I've always fought for him. I don't plan to disappoint Dylan, and I don't plan to disappoint you. These are the stories that will shape our campaign against Kathleen Wynne's Liberals. We are going to share these stories at every opportunity and show that we represent a better path forward. I cannot wait for the opportunity to stand up on a stage just like this next to Bob Shirelli as a millennial, as someone who has grown up for the majority of my life under Liberal government rule, and ask him how he can claim to represent the party that cares when he and the Liberals have been mortgaging our children's futures for over a decade. Because, let's be honest, that's the only thing the Liberals have left in their toolbox. Borrowing from future generations to put a Band-Aid over their failed policies rather than admitting their failures. And we are going to do better. This Saturday, we are going to be choosing a new party leader. We have 4 tremendous candidates, and I know that each and every one of them is ready to lead our party with renewed strength and integrity. But after Saturday, each and every one of you has an important job to do. You need to take off your internal party hats and put them aside and come together. Conservatives win when we are united. We don't always agree with each other on everything, but we respect each other's different points of view. And I know that united together, we will beat Kathleen Wynne's Liberals in June. After Saturday, we are going to have just under 90 days until the June 7th election. I plan to hit the ground running. I plan to start door knocking day in and day out, but I cannot do it alone. I need your help. As I said earlier, change is driven by a small group of engaged citizens who get involved. So I'm going to ask each of you to do your part, whether it's making a donation, taking a lawn sign, or volunteering to help. Every little bit helps and will help us take down Bob Shirelli and throw him a big, huge retirement party. But before we choose a new leader, we have someone very important that we have to thank. I'm incredibly honored that tonight we are joined by our interim party leader, Vic Fideli. Tonight's event beautifully encapsulates the work that Vic has been doing over this past month. We are closing a chapter of division in our party and moving forward stronger than ever towards June. This would not have been possible were it not for Vic and his team. They have shown what integrity means and brought integrity back to this party. I was honored back in January to be invited to go to the University of Oxford and speak on integrity and ethics in politics. During my presentation, I spoke about the fact that it's impossible to build a culture of ethics in an organization if you don't have leaders with integrity at the top. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to report that when Vic Fideli hands over the leadership on Saturday, he is leaving behind a legacy of integrity here in Ottawa West, Nepean, and across this province. And so, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Vic Fideli to the stage. Give him a warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.